OMG, baby, tell them.
Hey there, welcome to Powered by Backers. It is Justin. It is another beautiful day out. I'm joined here by Andrew Reilly. Andrew, thank you very much for joining me here on the show.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. So we just talked quickly. So you are in South Carolina. So you're actually our second American guest. We are based in Toronto, Canada, but we love, we're sort of building a platform that will spread across North America. So we love our many, called by many neighbors to the south, I guess, would be probably the most PC and non-offensive in either direction, I guess. But yeah, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Sure, my pleasure.
Cool. So quickly, I'll do a quick little bio here. So you started commercial fishing at 15 and continued after high school. You went into purchasing seafood internationally and started a family, got into the drywall and painting business, and you went on your own for 23 years. Ran into Rob Proctor's coaching material a few years back and saw a great fit for you. And then you're currently a coach using that information to help people in transformation. So you're sort of a transformational coach.
Yes.
And you obviously run Thinking into Results Coach. And what was the Patriot Global Media, right?
Okay,
Dr. Gallagher Institute?
I basically finished with Patriot Global Media. That was I learned how to do SEO.
Okay.
And so it was a perfect startup for having any website and building any website. So but I no longer do that.
Okay. So now you're just with Proctor Gallagher Institute.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So tell us a little bit. So commercial fishing to self-help and coaching. That's a bit of those are two, I would assume, on the surface, very differing worlds. Tell us, I'd love to, I always like to hear sort of the backstory. Tell us, 23 years of commercial fishing. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that like and what was it like being, a commercial fisherman?
Okay, absolutely. Actually, I started that when I was 15 and then I that was kind of my college. I was trying to decide whether I was going to go to college or stick with that. Well, I made $53,000 when I was 18.
Okay.
So I said, I'm not going to college. I'm going to continue this,
Yeah.
I stuck with it. Actually, I only stayed in that industry for 11 years.
Okay.
And then I decided to come ashore to build a family because I felt like being a father in that industry, I was never going to see my kids. So.
Right. You're always leaving your family to go out. You see the shows on TV, right? Like Deadliest Catch. They're out there for, 3-4 months at a time, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So how long would you be out to sea?
Actually, we were only out for 2 weeks at a time because there was a union that came in, a Teamsters union. And so they allowed us to only go out and only fish so many days.
Oh, really?
So it wasn't like the swordfish guys where they were out there for, it seemed like forever.
Yeah.
So we would only go out for 2 weeks at a time.
Okay, cool. So now you decide to come back to shore, as you say. I like that term. Decided to come back to shore. So now you're back to shore. You decide you're gonna, raise a family. I'm assuming, you met your significant other, and you decided. So what did you do at that point? Is that when you started to get into South Coast finishes and the drywall? Is that sort of what was?
That's a good question, but actually not yet. What I did was I started, instead of catching the scallops, I started buying them internationally from my brother.
Okay.
So I was in Nova Scotia. I was in, Newfoundland. I was all over the place purchasing them.
Okay. And where was your brother? What was he doing?
He owned a seafood processing plant.
Okay. Down in South Carolina?
No, in New Bedford, in New England, New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Okay, so you're basically his buyer.
That's correct.
Interesting. So how long did you do that for then?
I did that for about 3 years, and I decided that, well, actually it was three brothers that worked together, the three of us. And I decided that I'm the type of person that needs to work on my own.
Okay.
You know, do things on my own. So I decided to leave that. And I had an opportunity to take a look at the drywall business in the drywall union in Boston.
Okay.
So I did that for a number of years and also decided, you know, if I can make these people money, I think I can make myself money.
Right, exactly. Why are you working for someone else to make them rich, right?
Right. So that's when I went into that's when I started my painting business, residential painting business, and which took me through the next 23 years.
Okay, so you did that. That was South Coast Finishings, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So what, like, how did you grow that? What sort of, you know, give us some scale or size, or what were you doing in those 23 years? Like, how many painters, houses? I don't know. Just give us sort of a feel for what you had grown your business to.
Sure, absolutely. My sister-in-law actually is a contractor. She builds fine homes. She builds $1 million homes. So it was a perfect fit where I got hooked up with her and then several other contractors.
Right.
And I was able to grow it slowly but steadily.
Right.
To where we were doing there were only four of us. We were doing $500,000 a year.
Okay.
So it basically stayed around that level. And that was, you know, for a number of years, it stayed at that level. And I was wondering, you know, why, because I had a vision for something bigger, but it wasn't happening.
Right. You're having difficulty scaling maybe, or trying to figure it out?
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. And then I hooked up, I just happened to look at some information online from Bob Proctor.
Okay, yeah.
Who lives somewhere in Toronto.
He is from up here. I've seen him. I've not actually seen him myself personally, but I've definitely sort of crossed paths of people that have been to some of his events and different things. Yes.
Yeah. So I was looking for, you know, I was looking to increase the business and just make a lot more happen than I was able to make happen. I mean, we lived a very comfortable life, but it was just more to it. I knew there was more to it than that, you know? So I ended up calling Bob Proctor's office and hooking up with his information. And it just resonated with me so well. You know, he's such a fine teacher. He's such a great teacher that I decided to, you know, just keep studying it, you know, and it's helped me immensely to grow that business, which I no longer have now. I do a little bit of subcontracting because I have so many customers, but I basically built that business through word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've transitioned. So explain, sorry, what you do with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Like, what is it that you offer through them?
Okay. Yeah, I got so hooked on his information that I thought to myself, you know, I really should be doing this. And once my kids were grown and they were all doing their own thing, I thought to myself, I got into the painting business to supply a lifestyle for my wife and kids.
Right.
And, you know, all of us. And I thought, but the main thing is I didn't do it because I loved it. I did it because I was very good at it.
Right.
And I could make a lifestyle. So then I decided this is something that I'd love to go into, you know, to help people. And this is what I'd like to do from here on. And that was a couple of years ago.
Okay, cool. So let's tell, what do you guys do with like, what does that entail?
So what I have is a 6-month coaching program.
Okay.
Where we go through the 12 modules that Bob put together. That's the Thinking into Results program.
Okay.
It's 12 modules. And I look at it as like we don't come into this life with a manual.
Right.
So I look at it as a manual for life.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
Because it just gives you a foundation for everything through those 12 modules.
Okay.
You know, from
so it's like every 2 weeks, basically.
Attitude to mindset, and you know, it just takes you through the whole spectrum of whatever you would possibly have a challenge in.
Right.
And so that's what I do. I take people through that program, and we meet once a week. on a call like this. And I basically facilitate the program. I don't teach it. Bob teaches it through videos.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's videos and a whole workbook that you'll work through for those 6 months.
Interesting. So 6 months, 12 modules. So you're looking at what, like every 2 weeks, basically, right? Sort of each module. Is that the timing, sort of?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. Every 2 weeks, we go through one module every 2 weeks.
So okay. Let's I don't know what question to ask first. So tell it. Okay, so obviously you're in business. As you said, you were sort of working in the painting. Sort of as a it was almost like it was a job, right? You had created yourself a job that you went to, and it provided you the lifestyle that you needed. Now you have the opportunity, as you said, your kids have kind of grown up. Sort of moved out. You have the opportunity now to potentially pursue something that you are more passionate about.
Yes.
So which is really cool. And I mean, a lot of people, obviously you got to do what you got to do, right? And then you've got that flexibility now to do that. What were some of the things, I guess, I'll go this route. I wasn't sure which way to go, but what were some of the things that inspired you about Bob Proctor or his program that really resonated with you early on? Like, what were some of those, like, sort of, I don't know, the aha moments, or the, key kind of like, hey, you know what, this is really something I should be doing myself. And hey, you know what, maybe I'd like to teach. Like, what were some of those? Do you have any like little quips or stories about sort of where you were, or yeah, I'd love to hear sort of what transitioned you. And then I guess the part two of the question is sort of, if somebody were to kind of go through the program, what can they kind of expect? But let's start with just like, what was your kind of aha moment, if you will?
Okay, sure, absolutely. I went to a number of seminars before I decided to do this on my own. I basically, it's my own business, and I just licensed their product,
right?
But when I was going to those seminars, it's almost like I would get hit over the side of the head with a 2x4, like at least once in that seminar. And there was there's three things that really resonated with me that absolutely helped me change and see everything. The first one had to do with goal setting, where goal setting and goal achieving are two different things.
Right.
The goal setting is intellectual, but the goal achieving is law. It has to do with the law. It has to do with the law of attraction, many laws that we can use for ourselves. So that was the first thing that I understood. I'm like, wow, I never even knew what goals were really all about, and how to do them properly. The second thing was learning about paradigms. Paradigms, which is a conditioning that we grow up with, that
right.
Before we even start to think or reason, that's like 5 years old. So in between the time of birth and that age, everything that's going on around us is being put into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is where all the programming is. So that really hit me because it made me understand. I took a look at my results and I could see a pattern, and it was the pattern that was bothering me. It was the pattern that, I'd have, 25,000 one month and then back down to 15 and 10. And I couldn't understand why it was happening. So when I understood what paradigms were and how they operated, that was huge for me.
Interesting. Sort of a paradigm shift, right? So yes. You're trying to shift it. So before you, okay, keep going. I don't want to interrupt. I had a thought process on paradigms, but I wanted to ask you a question about that. But keep going if you were sort of going on your aha moment. Yeah.
I just had one more point, and that was about the self-image.
Right.
And they're almost tied together because they operate the same way. They operate like a thermostat.
Okay.
So if you set your house at 70 degrees, whatever happens, whether it's the winter time and somebody leaves the door open, or it's summertime and somebody does the same thing, it'll kick in automatically and bring the temperature back to where it should be. Well, that's how our paradigms and our self-image work within us.
Okay.
You know, and that third thing was the self-image. You know, I thought it was personally me that was, you know, inadequate, or, you know, I just didn't have what it took. That wasn't the case at all. So that was the three big ahas that I had.
Okay.
You know?
So interesting. So the paradigm, I'd love to hear a little more about the thought process on the paradigm. So, I mean, you hear people say things like paradigm shift, or, you know, kind of that, you know, changing the mindset, which would, I think, would be your own personal maybe beliefs, or, you know, how you portray or how you perceive, sorry, your circumstance, and then sort of how you can go about, you know, addressing that circumstance for the positive or the negative, right? A lot of
Right.
people often go on the negative side, you know, and they sort of wallow in their misery, or they, you know, they do activities or actions that probably are, you know, cause sort of more pain and suffering, or, you know, and create, you know, so it's that mindset shift of positive thinking, I would think. But give us a little bit around paradigm. Like, I think that's an interesting concept. I'd love to hear, you know, Bob Proctor's take on that. Like, how are you creating a paradigm shift, or what is the paradigm shift that you're trying to create to further advance yourself?
Okay. Perfect question. Great question. So the paradigm makes us look through filters.
Right.
So whatever our conditioning is, we're looking through those filters to life, to everything in life, you know, from A to Z. So when we take a look at our results, just, you know, be honest with yourself, write down your results, you know, and so that's showing you exactly where your paradigm is, and what your paradigm's all about, what your belief system is, you
Right.
know? And so to have a paradigm shift, that's where you start. There's only two things that we need to do in order to get to where we want to go: is understand where we are, number one, and then, you know, have that goal, number two,
Right.
and then figure out what the steps are in between to get us there. And the steps are in between is to figure out what the paradigm is and go for the opposite. Say we're making $10,000 a month, you know, and we really want to be making 20 or more. So what we would do is we'd write down that as a goal, and then use it as a affirmation.
Okay.
So in order to change that paradigm, you have to record it and speak it and think it all the time with repetition.
Right.
Yeah, repetition is the key. If you do it for a week, you're not going to see much change. If you're dedicated to it and just do it for 30 days minimum, you know, and then beyond, you'll see the change, because it does take the repetition.
Right. So, okay. So let's, I mean, I want to say, okay, so you tell me if you agree with this, then I guess it's not just the affirmation, which is part of it. It's the, you know, the saying it, but there also has to be actions around it where you're changing what you do and you're practicing new. So for example, I mean, the example you said was, you know, 10 to 20,000, excuse me. Let's say you're, you know, in your business painting, right? So I can say all day that I want 20,000, but it's not going to happen unless, you know, I get new clients, or I increase my staff, or I, you know, figure out a new whatever, right? Like a new way of doing things. So I think there's sort of the paradigm shift is maybe not being sort of, content's probably the wrong word, but content with the 10 grand and thinking that that's the ceiling, and maybe always striving to learn more, you know. So I'm sure if you were doing it for a long time, you know, websites became a thing. So now all of a sudden you could potentially reach a larger audience, and, you know, maybe get new clients in that way, or, you know, maybe bringing on, so there's a lot of different things that you can do where when you have that affirmation, that paradigm shift of I'm capped at 10,000, where the paradigm shift is really, maybe there is no cap. Maybe I can get to 1 million a month, or whatever that, right? And that's the paradigm shift. And then the actionable items, I think, are I'm just sort of going from my own sort of knowledge of, is then you have to go sit and think, okay, well, if there is no cap, how do I go about getting more clients, building up, increasing my profitability, or, decreasing my costs, or, increasing your revenues, whatever the, and again, there's a million ways to do all of that. But,
Right.
that's sort of the paradigm shift, is that getting out of your own way, almost getting out of your own headspace, so that you allow and you say, hey, you know what, we're going to do 100,000 this month, right? Is that sort of the paradigm shift?
It is, and you're absolutely right, because the other half of that, it's not only the knowing and the understanding and the writing it down and the affirmations, but you're right. The other part of that is the action part,
Right?
because you have to be in action, like you say. And what we do is we change 2 habits at a time.
Okay.
You pick up, you figure out there's 2 things that you're doing now that have to absolutely change. They're non-productive. So you write down the productive, like the opposite of it, or the productive part of it. And those are the 2 things that you focus on with the affirmations until those are nailed.
Okay.
If you try to go do more than 2 habits, you end up doing none.
Right. So, and then that's the 30 days, and that's the affirmation of change, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Right. With the
at least
action.
30 days, 30 to 60 days, and then
Right.
you've probably got it nailed. Well, you know it because of your results.
Okay.
And then you go to the next 2 things that you want to work on.
So what are those 2 things? Are they usually, like, give us an example of what those might be if somebody's very new to this and came to you? What are 2 potential habits that, give us the top 2? What across the board, what do most people need to change? I could probably think of it, but yeah, what are they?
Yeah. What are they? Is a morning routine.
Okay.
That you stick with.
Right.
That's going to support you and what you want to do. That's game changer number 1. And number 2 is productivity. How can you be more productive? So it's just those 2 things right away that people can start on and have a significant change, pretty early, pretty quickly.
Interesting. So yeah, so productivity. I mean, I think morning routine probably ties a bit into productivity, right? It's sort of like you're getting up, it starts your day, it gets you sort of that routine, that schedule, maybe a healthy breakfast, getting up early, getting enough rest so you can have that early rise or whatever the routine is, maybe some exercise. So that probably, all that routine alone, I think probably hits about 10 different habits for some people, right? Eating healthy, right. Maybe exercising, getting enough rest, all those things, right? So interesting. So, okay, we've kind of gone off. This actually kind of answers the second part of my question. So somebody does the morning routine. Give us an example of what, do you suggest things to people, or do you sort of let them come up with their own routine? Or, if you're going to go into that sort of that model, how does that work? How does that play out?
I can make suggestions because it's really all about mindset. It's all about clearing the head, clearing the mind,
right? And
letting, because the paradigm is the little voice in your head that wants to tell you things, like it's too late, it's too early, I'm not getting up that early, or I think you've done enough affirmations for the day. Yeah. It's that little voice. So I do suggest to people that meditation, unless they absolutely hate it, then it's just like sitting quietly, and what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to think clearly. And man, when you start doing that, which you probably already do, that's when the ideas come in, right. The ideas. So I will suggest a morning routine, just a couple, 2 or 3 things in that regard, just to get, if they don't already know, just to give them some kind of ideas.
So meditating would be one. What were the other couple
meditating?
Things? Yeah.
Writing down your goal statement.
Okay.
And visualizing it. So that takes care of that part of it. Absolutely knowing what your goal is, visualizing it, and then exercise is very important.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely getting some sort of form of exercise. Yeah. And obviously you tie that into sort of health in general, maybe getting a healthy breakfast, or, eating properly. Yeah. Okay.
You know what those things are doing also, Justin, is building up the self-esteem. You know, when you feel better, when you work out or whatever it is you're doing, when you start to feel better about yourself by doing these things, you're raising your self-esteem.
Interesting. So I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And then obviously you mentioned the productivity part. We won't get into that, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that people can do to be more productive in a day.
Yeah.
Maybe just, itemizing your priorities and stuff, right? I guess, well, why don't we get into that? What are some tips you would have on productivity, if that's kind of point number 2?
Well, when someone has a business like myself, being productive is creating sales, so I've got to be on the phone every day. If I'm not on the phone, I'm not increasing my sales, I'm not helping people. So it's really the things that bring you business, that help us increase our business and increase the number of people we serve.
Right.
So those are the things that I would focus on as far as productivity. If it doesn't have to do with helping grow the business, it probably should be outside of the business hours.
So give us an example of what would be. I mean, I guess, just watching YouTube videos and sort of slacking, doing nothing is probably a prime example that we're all probably guilty of a little bit here and there. I find like sometimes I'm like, what did I just do for the past 45 minutes? You've watched, 3 or 4 stupid videos on randomness, but sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're educational, but after half the time you're like, what was I just watching there? Anyways, okay, so focusing on sort of the 80-20 rule, maybe like the stuff that's going to get you the 20% that's going to generate 80% of your growth and of your profitability, and working with. So in your case, you're spending time bringing in business and then obviously working on the business that you've brought in. So helping those that you're working with, serving, right?
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay. So I was going to go sort of the other route with regards to the morning routine. So what is your morning routine?
It's very basic and very simple, actually. I do meditate because I got into Dr. Joe's work, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
He's all about meditation, and he's all about the brain and what it does and how you can change things and how you can clear your mind of past, whatever, things that are negative that don't serve you anymore. So I do that. I do the meditation, the goal writing, and the visualization. I spend about 45 minutes on visualization, just listening to some cool music in the background, but just visualizing it and getting myself on that frequency, as if I already have it.
Right.
And so I do that, and then I exercise, have breakfast, and then I'm ready to go.
Cool. Yeah, no, I like it. I think a lot of people, I mean, it's surprising how, few people do have sort of a structured morning routine. I mean, arguably everyone has a morning routine. They get up, they race around, they throw something in their mouth, and they rush out the door and, drop the kids off at school and they rush to work. I mean, that's in pre-COVID, and now they probably rush to their laptop, log in, and, maybe throw something in their face, right? So not a lot of like sort of planning going into like you said, taking a few minutes to meditate, writing down your goals, especially as business leaders, writing down, sort of your schedule for the day, or, visualizing what you're going to get done or needs to get done for that day, week, whatever, right? Or where you're headed. Very cool. So everyone out there watching, you need a morning routine. As I was going to say, for myself, I probably, have just started to kind of look at things. We've started to, my wife and I have, started eating fruits and doing certain things in the morning, and sort of taking a few minutes to relax and do some things. I've scheduled a couple very early morning meetings with we have developers in India and stuff where I can quickly get on with them very early in the morning and sort of make sure they're on pace. And so I've sort of, from a productivity, that's my mornings, having a couple very quick meetings, just touch points to say, okay, we're good. And then I can kind of go do my rest of my work, right? So I like the visualization. I'm going to add that. I was actually thinking I'm going to put a big, like a whiteboard on the wall here, maybe write down the goals each day. And so you can literally stare right at it and see it. Because that,
yeah,
I think
I'm glad you said that, because suggestion is the most powerful force in the universe.
Right. Power of suggestion, right?
Yeah, you put stuff around you that suggests that, you have it already or you're heading in that direction. That's powerful. Right. And the other thing I forgot to mention, I can't believe I forgot to mention this about my morning routine, is that I study.
Right.
I study a certain part of the program or I study something. I'm reading for a half hour or I'm studying something, mindset wise.
Right.
Very important, because if you start leaving that out, you notice it.
Right.
You notice yourself slip, or you may notice your attitude slip, and then whatever. It's just phenomenal. The repetition of it. It's so amazing how much it helps.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Cool. Well, I appreciate, Andrew. I appreciate you joining me here. Thanks for being here. Typically, we end with one last kind of question. So I'll pose this to you. Everyone's got different answers, so it's kind of cool. It's been, this is, I think, I don't know, I've done this a bunch of times now over the past few months, pretty much daily now for the past couple months, and we've got lots of responses. Anyways, if there was one word or one piece of advice that you could give to a younger you, so a younger Andrew or somebody else kind of coming up through the ranks, what would that one word or that one piece of advice be?
That's a great question.
Everyone's got a different answer, but I've heard a lot of good ones.
Narrow it down to one.
Yeah. That's why I said one thing. Yeah.
Here it is. Just believe in yourself and believe in whatever you want to do. Just believe you can do it and go.
Believe in yourself. So that self-belief, it's like, yeah. It's like you said, the power of suggestion, right? But like having that belief in yourself, right? And you said that's sort of what you guys talk about, or you've got the paradigm and then the belief in yourself, right? So you think that is that sort of the positive? Expand on that. I'd love to hear a little more about that. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, like we talked about, the self-image is everything. Right. It's like a thermostat. So if somebody younger especially starts in the direction of what they want to do, they start to believe in themselves. They need to stay around people who are going to help them believe in themselves.
Right.
So that's important. It's the 5 people you hang around the most, that will give you the most influence. So outside influence is huge. You got to be careful.
I think that's kind of unfortunate in COVID, because I hang around my wife and a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So hopefully I'm not getting influenced by the 4-year-old. But anyways, I'm kidding. But yeah, I know what you mean. 100%. And that's, you're the product of your sort of friends and family and those that are closest to you, for sure. Well, Andrew, I really appreciate. Where can people find you? I guess quickly, just before we.
It's Thinking into Results with Andrew Reilly. That's on Facebook.
Okay.
And you can find everything from there.
Okay, cool. So thinking, let me just, I'll just get that here. Thinking into results, right?
Yes. With Andrew Reilly.
With Andrew Reilly. Okay, so Thinking into Results with Andrew Reilly. You are in South Carolina. It's nice down there, right? It's going to be.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's nice here too. It's summer here as well, but we're getting prepped for winter. No, just kidding. Not yet, hopefully. Not yet, hopefully.
Too soon.
Too soon. It's still August. It's August, right? So anyways, well, Andrew, thank you very much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everyone else out there, powered by backers, thanks again for joining me. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Have yourselves a great day. Thanks,
OMG, baby, tell them.